morning, a very warm morning in Mildura. Welcome to further reading from Walking Slowly Downhill, a walking project I undertook in 2015, beginning from the source of the Murray River, Mount Kosciuszko, to the mouth in Goolwa, South Australia. Each day I wrote an account of that day's walk, or a kind of précis of the thoughts that I'd had, the musings, the propositions that I'd been able to put to myself on some of those occasions. Today I'm reading from the 11th day, a rest day in Melbourne. 11th day, Melbourne. I notice that I look at the ground fixedly when I walk. Even though I might be walking through beauty, I catch myself looking at my shadow preceding me, continually darkening the roadside clay into burnt sienna, only to immediately release it from the burden of being tinted by shadow. I don't understand why I do this. Is it a survival urge to make sure my feet avoid obstacles and strike clear ground? Is it in perverse denial of the beauty I walk in? I visited my painting installation at Mars Gallery this morning. It was curious to stand in front of objects that had come about through a determination to affirm my presence in the world. It's as if I was inside my own house when I stood amongst them. None of Graziella's 49 gorgeous nothings, the small objects that on occasion she had gifted me, had been touched, though each looked so vulnerable, so tentative inside its glass container. Perhaps that's why, because they all seem to be both beginners and strangers at once. I walked downstairs to view the video. My mother's face, her lips, her skin, her hand gripping mine. I heard her breathing, and then I heard her voice. I drove away through the back streets of Windsor slowly, suddenly uncoordinated. It was all I could do to steer. Houses, workmen, TV antennas, clouds appeared and vanished, looked both familiar and otherworldly. The 12th day, Robinvale. Today I drive slowly heading north to Robinvale. The walk resumes later this afternoon after I reach the caravan. As I drive, I think about Graziella's video and then about the dream I had a few nights ago of walking in the cave with my father. It strikes me that rather than leading me through the knee-deep water, my father may have actually placed his hands on my shoulders in order to gently push me forward through the transparency, onwards to whatever our destination might have been. The thought softens me, and much time passes, simply concentrating on the road, watching trees, shadows, birds, and the colour of the earth change from a rich brown to a deep red. The road sweeps through the tiny hamlet of Woodwood and past the banks of the Murray, fringed by huge river red gums. These are the trees that once created so much anxiety in me. When I first saw them in the early 1960s, soaring above the banks of the Yarra River at Fairfield, one of Melbourne's inner northern suburbs, I entered into a deep and persistent melancholy. Now, as I drive past them, I simply see them as witnesses to the passing of time, as graceful presences located exactly where they belong. And then an image of my grandfather focuses in my mind. My grandfather is sitting in the fading afternoon light by the window, in Trieste, his glasses perched on the edge of his nose, the tip of his tongue curled over his top lip. He holds a needle in the left hand and thread in his right. The whole of his body and soul is focused on the needle's minuscule eye. The whole of him located exactly where he belongs. The 13th day, Robinvale Caravan Park to Happy Valley. Just me and the road again, together and bound up somehow. The spaces at each side of the bitumen, a thin layer of hardness placed upon the earth, become so very narrow before they fall away to a ditch running parallel to the road. Consequently, I walk with my left foot constantly landing slightly uphill and above my right. The roadsides are littered with many objects, not all of them gorgeous nothings, or perhaps they are. I have made it a rule to only pick up the objects I would have stepped on with either of my feet, but for some reason I don't seem to step on anything today. Now I walk down Happy Valley Road past vineyards, avocado groves, olives and citrus planted in neat rows. Sprinklers spray cool, joyful water over warm, late afternoon earth. I walk past neat houses with shutters firmly lowered. Judging by the surprised barking of dogs, I must be the only walker who has ventured along this road in years. A basketball ring is fixed to the eaves of a fruit drying shed. Roses smother the fencing. I pick one, pink, bright, but not as bright as the blood its thorn draws from my finger. I'm happy to see my lifeblood curled down and under my thumb. I let it flow a little, and then I instinctively suck it. Iron. An orange sun is lowering west over green groves. I turn my head and an opalescent moon lifts itself ever so slowly in the eastern sky. Each moment, each fragment of a moment defining itself in exactly the right terms, at exactly the right time and place. No questions, no debate. The exactitude of everything and its rightness is what surprised me. Most of all is what I remember. Most of all. Seems simple, I know, to yet again proclaim that everything is in its right place at exactly the right time, but the experience of it is overwhelming at times. Until tomorrow, more walking slowly downhill.